You know, as a viewer and as someone who has read the books and seen the movies, I found that scene to be particularly satisfying. Do you, playing it, having played the character for all those years, do you sort of have those sort of emotional, maybe even cathartic moments with a role, or does it feel like a scene that you're playing and we move on to the next scene?
Well, no. I mean, with the last film, it was very cathartic because you were finally able to see who he was. And it was, I suppose, strange in a way to play stuff that was so emotional. Because a lot of the time, you know, you're working in 2 dimensions, not 3. It's a very clear outline that all of those characters have. But satisfying also on all sorts of levels. You know, Rafe and I had a scene where you just thought, well, finally here's just a couple of actors talking to each other, and no special effects. Just watching that scene, you think, well, thank God for computer graphics, because Maggie and I are having real... Holding a wand is not the most threatening thing. And pointing it at Dame Maggie Smith, you know, you've grown up worshipping from the cheap seats at the National Theatre. Yeah. And she's pointing it at you. And she can arch an eyebrow like nobody. So thank God for the sheets of flame. No, very cathartic on all sorts of levels. Then seeing Dan and Rupert and Emma, and that's 10 years where you watched people go from 12 to 22. Mm.
Was there ever a point in the unfolding of the 8-movie series where you ever considered not continuing in the role of Snape?
No, I wasn't going to let anybody else finish that story. No.
You've also worked as a director yourself on screen, on stage, most recently in New York, I believe, with Creditors at the Brooklyn Academy of Music. What do you enjoy most about directing that perhaps might be different than what you enjoy about acting?
Well, it's a very, very different activity, of course. And it goes back to what I was saying before about working out why I needed to go to art school when I did, because that part of my training and who I am is very much part of the equipment that I need as a director. And it's satisfying to be in control of the visual aspect as much as anything else. I'm passionate about storytelling, and sometimes you want to tell a story as an actor, and sometimes now much more as a director. It takes a long time, I have to say, to get to the point, or it did for me, where you thought, I've actually got something to say. All these hopeful faces staring at you on the first day, it's a bit challenging, but over the years you've learnt that one of the greatest things a director can ever say to an actor that will make them immediately trust you is an actor will ask a question, the director will say, I don't know. And whenever you hear that from a director, something in the actor relaxes.
Oh, my next question may be a little overthought, but from your experience as a director, and let's say with Creditors, is there anything that you learned from that experience that you have now brought to your latest Broadway role in Seminar? 2 very different plays, but I wonder, as a director, if that helps you as an actor in this case.
Absolutely, and I think that working on film as an actor helps me work on stage as an actor. Everything is about distilling to me and trying to get simpler and truer. And that actually it's not about you, which is something I remember from one of the great teachers at drama school. You know, and when you think you've fought, kicked and screamed to get into this academy, and then a teacher says, just as you're about to get up and do some piece of work, she says, and remember, it's not about you. But it's true. And so ultimately, acting to me, whether as an actor or a director, and it's certainly very relaxing as an actor to think about, is focus on the other person. You have something to say to them. And usually you're saying something to this other person because of what they just said to you. So it's really just about accurate listening and then answering. So don't think about what you're saying. Think about what you just heard, and what you say is automatic.
Tell us a little bit about your character, Leonard, in Seminar. Who is he? For those who've not seen the play.
Well, the story is of 4 young writers in New York who hire a mentor, pay him $5,000 each for a 10-week mentoring period, and pretty early on are pretty resentful of the money they've given him. He's a truth teller, relentlessly truth-telling. And Teresa's writing is so brilliantly observed and constructed that you kind of just get on his train and ride it. But fortunately, he's also a human being. You do wonder whether that's going to be the case, but or whether he's just a destroyer, but he's not.
There's a great deal of comedy in the show, in the play. I loved it, and there's also some real emotional heft, I think, for me, that came from the scenes when you realize that they're not all just trying to undermine and undercut and destroy each other. There's some real affection, especially for talent and for the surprise that talent can hold. I am curious, a question that was emailed in from a fan of yours, John Collins, asked, what do you think Leonard would think of Joe Rowling's writing?
He'd probably be very jealous of what she's achieved. I'm sure he'd have to say it's... is there a female version of the word masterly? But anyway, storytelling. You can't fault it, really.
Great. Are there any elements of your character, Leonard, that you have or that you can relate to personally?
Well, I guess other people would have to say that. I don't think I'd be the person to say. I don't know. I mean, I suppose as a director, I think I'm gentler and more encouraging. I don't see the point in being destructive. And I don't think ultimately he is. He seems that way. But as a director, I absolutely don't see the point of insulting your actors or being destructive. I think the job is to encourage, as in fill with courage. You know, as an actor, when you're standing backstage about to go on in, whether it's Liaison Dangereuse or Private Lives or this, you do wonder what on earth you said yes for at certain times.
I recently returned to Seminar to prepare for this for a second time, and just found myself really, really enjoying some of the detailed touches that maybe I was paying too much attention to in your performance. Just some of your pauses in dealing with Lily Rabe's character and Jerry O'Connell's character as you were sizing them up and speaking truth. And particularly just a moment that was very emotionally satisfying where your character Leonard and Hamish Linklater's young novelist character, you're reading his work that he's resisted sharing with you, and there's a moment where you're reading it, a long pause on the stage, and then your eyes just dart up and you see him, and it's a moment where you feel like someone is seeing a person in a different way that is exciting. Now that the play's been running 8 performances a week for about 2.5 months, Do you find yourself changing up the performance in terms of pacing, line delivery, physical choices?
Yeah, I mean, every night that's another thing one learns, is to be free and available to the air around you every night. And I'm on stage with 4 remarkable young actors, and there's huge trust amongst us, and listening. You're not going to listen now in the same way that you did 24 hours ago.
Right.
So everything's, in a way, everything's the same, and in a way, everything's different.
Is there an example you could remember recently of a moment in the play that a choice was just very maybe different than how it had been, that you were conscious of, or maybe that you enjoyed?
I don't really like nailing anything down, because in a way you destroy it by doing that. I think we're all aware of different timings and finding a different word and stressing it in a different way, or discovering a phrase that you hadn't really discovered before. It's all cumulative, and as time goes on, different moments acquire a little spotlight because of what you learnt in the previous weeks. So I would resist your desire for me to get out a hammer and nails to anything.
Yeah, I ask, you answer. We're going to go to audience questions in just a couple of minutes. There are microphones at the bottom of these 2 aisles. If folks want to line up now, feel free to. What do you enjoy in your free time? What do you enjoy doing for fun to unwind?
You actually, I mean, do you mean while doing a play like this?
Any? Or
'Cause you don't have free time.
Yeah.
I'm in prison. Well, if young actors now say to me, what advice do you want to give to a young actor? I say to them, don't think about acting. You know, you're your own instrument. We were talking about that before, and so I've learned that I have to bring a person to a script. So if I have anything to pass on to young actors, it's go read books, go to art galleries, know what's happening in the news, have opinions.
Yeah.
Fill yourself out, because a script is going to come at you, and who are you? You can't just be an actor.
Let's
Travel.
go. Travel.